Namaskar and warm greetings. My name is Tanushree Sharma. I'm a professor and senior additional registrar, OP Jindal Global University, and it is my pleasure to compare the proceedings of this very special event that commemorates the 12th anniversary of JGU and celebrates the University Day. It is on this day in 2009, the very first lecture was delivered at the university. And since then, the university has achieved many illustrious milestones, of which the recent one is breaking into the top 500 universities in the world. It's with great delight I congratulate the entire JGU fraternity and on their behalf extend a warm welcome to the esteemed guests, proud parents, and to everyone who have joined the audience of this event from across the world, albeit virtually. To begin this event, it gives me no little joy to be the voice welcoming the founding Vice Chancellor of the OP Jindal Global University, Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, whose incredible and inspiring leadership played a key role in establishing this university as an institution of eminence. May I request Professor Rajkumar to kindly deliver the welcome address.
Thank you very much, Tanushree. Very good evening to all of you who have joined us from India. Good morning to our friends in the United States, and good afternoon to others who may be from Europe, including our faculty members, students, staff, alumni, and of course, their parents and other stakeholders. I have great pleasure in welcoming all of you to the 12th anniversary of OP Jindal Global University and the celebration of our University Day. My special gratitude to our distinguished guest of honor, Honorable Mr. Justice P.S. Narasimha, Judge of the Supreme Court of India, who should be joining very shortly, Ms. Sahana Singh, a distinguished author and columnist of a fantastic book entitled Revisiting the Educational Heritage of India. I strongly encourage all of you to read it. And of course, our very dear friend and my mentor, Professor Peter Schuck, Simeon E. Baldwin, Professor Emeritus at Yale University, for taking the time out to be with us on this very special occasion. I also want to recognize and indeed celebrate the contribution of our founding chancellor and benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, and indeed his personal commitment and dedication that culminated in the establishment of OP Jindal Global University. It is also a befitting moment to pay tribute to his father, Sri O.P. Jindal, in whose memory this university was established. The significance of this day is that we began the first batch of classes in the university and opened our doors to the world at large at our campus in Sonipat on this day 12 years ago, that is 30th September 2009. Our beginning was modest with little over 100 students, to be precise, 112 students, 10 full-time faculty members, one school, the Jindal Global Law School. Today, a little over a decade later, we have grown into a multidisciplinary university with 12 different schools in law, business, international affairs, public policy, liberal arts, journalism, architecture, banking and finance, environment and sustainability, psychology and counseling, languages and literature, and the most recent school, the Jindal School of Public Health and Human Development, with nearly 1,000 full-time faculty members and over 500 administrative staff. This has been the journey of OP Jindal Global University in the last 12 years. I still remember the prophetic words of late Honorable Mr. Justice V.R. Krishnaiyer, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, which he shared with us on 17th March 2008, as we took the very many first small steps to take our vision of a world-class university in India to a reality. This was the time when we had not built the campus. We were in the process of finalizing the acquisition of land, let alone recruited faculty, or for that matter, admitted students. All we had is the vision of creating a university that is truly world-class in nature. These words, which I will cite very shortly, will always be the motivation and inspiration for JGU to continue to evolve. Allow me to share these words with you, and I quote, "The OP Jindal Global University and the Jindal Global Law School are an institutional twin of terrestrial glory, sky high and sea deep in jurisdiction and jurisprudence, a cosmic wonder of learning and wisdom in every dimension, and an expanding universe of erudition, embracing in its rich plurality the art of living and the science of being. Entire humanity is its comprehensive constituency, search for truth in its limitless infinity, and exalted excellence are its supreme ambition. May this tryst with divine noesis be fulfilled in the sublime century of ever-escalating achievements. Law and life will reach their finest hour when this great goal gains profound locomotion through this unique university," unquote. These were the words of Justice V.R. Krishna here on 17th March 2009, when he was already 95 years old. It is indeed a phenomenal journey that JGU has witnessed this time. But even when we were on our rapid growth path, we've always ensured a quality and commitment towards excellence in teaching, learning, research, and self-development environment for all our students, faculty, and staff without any kind of discrimination, bias, or prejudice. That is a remarkable journey that should make all of us proud. Well, every year that the university celebrates is special. This year was unique in its own way. Since March 2020, universities around the world were faced with an extraordinary crisis in the form of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many lives have lost, and this is also a moment for us to express our heartfelt condolences to people who have lost lives around the world, across India, including in our own university. The pandemic had paralyzed the higher education institutions across the world, and the crisis, I'm afraid, is not yet over. It truly tested JGU's resilience too. Nevertheless, I am delighted to say that it is the sheer passion, commitment, dedication, vigor, and verve that the JGU community had in abundance that helped us overcome the challenges by bringing all of us together. With the commitment and teamwork of all members of the JGU community, we not only successfully ensured the continuity of our classes, but also accomplished multiple other milestones in the past year. The JGU community has yet again proved that for every such challenge that comes our way, we will convert it into an opportunity to change ourselves for the better. Despite the challenges, JGU, with the support of its entire academic community, continue to stay committed to not only academic community engagement, but also its larger vision. In the past 1 year, JGU established 3 new schools: the Jindal School of Psychology and Counseling, the Jindal School of Languages and Literature, and the Jindal School of Public Health and Human Development. I'm happy to report that the newest school that we have up and running, the Jindal School of Psychology and Counseling, welcomed the first batch of students of psychology this year in August 2021. And we are looking forward to welcoming the other school students in the next year. We have introduced 15 new undergraduate and postgraduate degree programs in several of our schools. JGU also became the first and only Indian university to collaborate with a global edtech organization, Coursera, to offer global online degrees. Also, with its continued commitment towards building a knowledge society and research-intensive environment, I am delighted to share that JGU was awarded the prestigious John Monnet Chair by the European Union, and the Jindal Global Law Review, the flagship faculty-edited law journal of the first school, the Jindal Global Law School, became India's first and then only law journal on Scopus indexation. Today, as JGU completes the second year of the second decade of its institutional journey, our success lies in living up to the letter and spirit of our can-do belief. While we have come a long way and have witnessed exponential growth since our very modest beginnings in 2009, let us never forget and continue to recognize that what makes JGU special is that we were always steadfast in upholding our commitment to quality and excellence. Even as a young university This year, we were ranked amongst some of the leading universities in the world as India's #1 private university as per the QS World University Rankings, and received the prestigious QS iGauge e-learning excellence for academic digitization certification for our agile digital transformation. Additionally, the Jindal Global Law School has been ranked as the 76th best law school in the world and India's #1 law school in the QS World University Rankings by Subject 2021. We are also one of the 10 private universities in India to be selected as an institution of eminence by the Government of India in October 2020. In fact, just as we approach the University Day, we were greeted last week by the delightful news that JGU has broken into the world's top 500 universities in the QS Graduate Employability Rankings 2022. I'm happy to report that there are among the nearly 40,000 universities in the world, over 1,000 of them are in India, and only 10 Indian universities have broken into this particular rankings, focusing on graduate employability. And among the 12, only 2 are private universities, and we are the only non-STEM, non-medicine university which has been able to be part of this rankings. We've indeed come a long way from our beginning in 2009 as we move forward in the journey of institution building at JGU with the inspiration that is given by our founding chancellor and benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal. We must celebrate with confidence and conviction today the distinctions we have achieved. But as we travel in our journey towards institution building for nation building at JGU into the 13th year and beyond, it is imperative that we remember the prophetic words of Michelangelo, and I quote, "The greater danger for most of us lies not in setting our aim too high and falling short, but in setting our aim too low and achieving our mark," unquote. On that note, I would like to conclude by expressing my heartfelt gratitude towards all the stakeholders of JGU, leadership of all the schools and institutes, and students, alumni, faculty members, staff members, parents of our students, and all states and central government bodies, regulatory authorities, and our international partners and well-wishers from around the world for their constant encouragement and support all these years. I would like to particularly thank the deans of the schools of JGU, the directors of the institutes of JGU, and also the entire administrative system that has ensured good governance at JGU. I look forward to your continuing support and wishes, and together, let us always commit to foster academic excellence, intellectual engagement, and social responsibility, and evolve as a private university promoting public service. Lastly, a personal word of deep gratitude to Professor Peter Schuck. Peter has been a great source of inspiration. One of the first persons with whom I had the privilege to discuss the idea of this university was Professor Peter Schuck. He not only supported the idea, but also moved to India and ended up teaching the first batch of the students of Jindal Global Law School at OP Jindal Global University as early as January 2010. Such was the commitment and dedication of Peter and his distinguished wife, Marcy. Both of them spent several months in that year in Sonipat when the infrastructure and the stage in which we were evolving was in the rudimentary stage. We are grateful to him for his encouragement and support all these years. I'm particularly thankful to our guest of honor, Ms. Sahana Singh, as well as Honorable Mr. Justice P.S. Narasimha, both of whom, Judge of the Supreme Court of India, both of whom who have kindly agreed to be present here and will be delivering the special address and the presidential address shortly. Thank you very much.
Taking the proceedings further, it is my absolute honor to welcome and introduce our first distinguished speaker for the University Day, Professor Peter H. Schuck. Professor Schuck is the Simeon E. Baldwin Professor of Law Emeritus at Yale University. He has held this chair since 1984, served briefly as Deputy Dean of the Law School, and took Emeritus status in 2009. Professor Schuck's major fields of teaching and research are law and public policy, tort law, immigration, citizenship and refugee law, groups, diversity, and administrative laws. He has written on a broad range of other public policy topics. His most recent books include One Nation Undecided, Clear Thinking About Five Hard Issues That Divide Us, Why Governments Fail So Often and How It Can Do Better, and Understanding America, the Institutions and Policies That Shape America and the World. Professor Schuck's other writing consists of more than 200 articles that have appeared in a wide variety of scholarly, professional, and popular journals, and many other highly acclaimed books. Professor Schuck is a contributing editor to The American Lawyer, has served as an arbitrator, expert witness, consultant in a variety of disputes, and has testified in dozens of congressional hearings. He was elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences in 2015. Earlier, he was awarded a Harvard Graduate Prize Fellowship, a Guggenheim Fellowship, a residency at Rockefeller Foundation Center in Bellagio, and a Fulbright Senior Fellowship to lecture in India. He regularly teaches spring semesters at Berkeley Law School. A hearty welcome, Professor Schuck. May I request you to kindly deliver the University Day lecture on the theme, The University as Multiversity, Threats and Opportunities. Over to you, Professor Schuck.
Thank you very much, Tanushree, and warm greetings to the honored celebrants of the University Day 2021, but especially to the new students of the OP Jindal Global University. I am most honored to have been asked by your most remarkable Vice Chancellor, Siraj Kumar, from whom you've just heard, to deliver this University Day lecture. He tells me that the idea for JGU was hatched, or at least encouraged, by our chance meeting in the library at NYU, New York University Law School in 2000 or so. And he modeled JGU partly on American universities. As he mentioned, I had the great privilege of teaching the first batch of Jindal students in 2010 and collaborating with the visionary founder, Naveen Jindal. It has been a great privilege to work with these remarkable figures now for over 20 years in developing this quite remarkable, indeed unique institution. When the Vice Chancellor inquired about which topic I would like to address on this occasion, I did not hesitate. In recent years, I, like so many American professors, have been haunted by a threat to the truth-seeking and truth-teaching character of many of America's leading universities. Many universities outside the United States have looked to America as a model, as Vice Chancellor Kumar and founder Jindal did when they designed JGU. Because the pathology that I'll describe threatens all truth-seeking institutions, but especially universities, I worry that it will spread. It may not afflict India yet, or at all, but you should take what I'm about to say as a friendly warning and an exhortation for the future. My remarks will proceed as follows. First, I shall define my conception of the university and its relationship to the multiversity, a term I use in my title for this address, but will only briefly mention. My ideal of the university is not everyone's ideal, but it is the one that inspires most American universities and many others outside the US, including the Jindal Global University. I share that ideal and hope that your decision to study at Jindal signals that you yourselves embrace it as well. Second, I shall identify several serious threats to these treasured values, threats that are now haunting university campuses in America. These threats, I believe, mirror and reinforce some disturbing developments in the larger American society. And finally, I shall discuss several ways in which we in the United States can try to confront and defeat these threats. I believe that these lessons can serve you at Jindal as well. Most of what I shall say is presented at greater length and more persuasively in a very recent book published in the United States by Jonathan Rauch. It's entitled The Constitution of Knowledge, a phrase that I will borrow from him and use a bit in my remarks today. My talk draws heavily on Rauch's ideas, with which I fully agree. So let me begin my substantive remarks with the notion of the ideal of the university. The notion of special places for the pursuit of advanced learning goes back, of course, to ancient times. But in learning, but in speaking today of the university ideal, I refer to a certain set of educational institutions that became prominent in the 19th and 20th centuries, especially in Britain, Europe, and the US. Of course, these institutions have now spread to other parts of the world, nowhere more prominently than in India and in the remarkable institution of Jindal Global University. It is customary to use the term liberalism to characterize the values that these institutions claimed to pursue. Liberalism is commonly used to describe a political or ideological stance toward the role of the state. In the US, tending to favor more active government intervention in society and economy. In most other countries, favoring less public intervention. Here today, I focus, as Jonathan Rauch does in his book, The Constitution of Knowledge, on liberalism's epistemic principles. That is, how the liberal university goes about defining, pursuing, and teaching the truth, the facts about the world. Like Rauch, I consider this truth-speaking function as the university's defining mission and the key to producing democratic citizens in a robust, progressive society. Precisely because these important facts about the world are often complex, difficult to discern, and contested, a university must establish a set of conditions under which the truth about facts can be ascertained with as much certainty as the state of knowledge permits. And second, error can be challenged and identified as false. This emphasis on facts is not to say that the university does not also teach values. Of course it does. But it is to say that the values that the university teaches should primarily be the values necessary for the search for and dissemination of truth. These values include respect for facts and evidence, respect for the expertise necessary to gather and interpret elusive evidence in order to establish facts, respect for the equal dignity of those faculty, students, and others who are engaged in this search for truth, and a willingness, even an eagerness, to change one's views based on the best evidence available. Now, how does a liberal university promote this truth-seeking mission? It does so primarily by dedicating itself to the following principles. These principles might be understood to be part of the constitution of knowledge to which Rausch refers in his title. First, no one has a monopoly on the truth. Anybody, even experts, can be wrong. Differing views and open debate are welcome. They're not merely necessary, they are welcome. They are things to be desired and sought and encouraged. Second, the most important facts are in genuine dispute. The truth is elusive, hard to apprehend, precisely because of several factors. First, good evidence is hard to come by and to interpret. Second, the evidence often points in different directions. And third, even the smartest people, like the faculty at Jindal Global University, have blind spots, cognitive biases, and other sources of irrationality. We all have them. They are part of the human condition. A third principle of the constitution of knowledge is that everyone can participate in these quests for truth. And we should assume that all participants are proceeding in good faith in seeking and using the truth. Fourth principle is that the truth of a claim, whether it be a factual claim or a normative claim, depends not on the person who asserts it or his or her motives, but on the claim's truth value. Fifth, a claim's truth value, in turn, is determined by logic and the scientific method broadly defined, which the university has refined with the help of experts on its faculty and in its research capacities. The sixth principle of the constitution of knowledge is that it is unacceptable to intimidate, punish, exclude, or make moral judgments about those who take a different view of the facts or of the implications of those facts. All participants in debates should firmly oppose such tactics. I hasten to add that American universities have sometimes failed to honor these 6 principles that I've just discussed. American universities have sometimes yielded to the bullying tactics of powerful people seeking to intimidate and control what was taught, what was thought, and what was researched on campus. Still, American universities have been among the most important agents of the liberal truth-seeking that has improved our world in countless ways. And I am proud and delighted to report that JGU regards itself as very much in carrying forth that tradition. Whether the university can continue to perform this progressive truth-generating role has been called into question by 2 distinct developments. One, which I'll only mention here, but as part of my title, is the transformation of many universities into multiversities, a term that I referenced earlier. Multiversity refers to a vast expansion of the university's functions and clientele to include the, quote, military industrial complex, about which our President Eisenhower warned Americans more than 50 years ago. In the decades since then, and even before that occurred, many universities have undertaken vast and intricate collaborations with this complex, greatly shaping and expanding their research, curricula, teaching, and resources. A vital question is whether this change has compromised universities' truth-seeking mission. That is to say, whether the multiversity can continue to perform the extraordinarily important functions of the university and the constitution of knowledge. I leave it to others to answer this question. There are many efforts to do so, and they are extraordinarily important, but that's not my subject today. Superficially, the constitution of knowledge on American campuses might seem secure. After all, isn't freedom of speech on campus legally protected? The answer, of course, is yes, as a formal matter. But the social reality is very different on many campuses in the last few years. This includes many of our most prestigious universities, like my own Yale University. In a huge number of campus incidents, they seem to occur almost daily and are reported in our media, and which have been documented by a pro-speech civil rights organization. So they are readily available to you. Small groups of students, often supported by even tinier groups of faculty and administrators, use mob-like behavior to prevent the expression of ideas that they do not like, or to impose severe formal and informal sanctions on those who have already uttered the ideas, even in private. These moral vigilantes, as I call them, have created what many critics now call a cancel culture, which is defined as a climate of fear in which unpopular ideas are suppressed. By the way, and it's an extraordinary fact bearing on this controversy, many of these canceled ideas, for example, opposition to ethno-racial preferences and to abortion, for example, are widely embraced in adult off-campus America. These are not bizarre ideas. These are not outlandish ideas. These are ideas that are widely held in the United States, whether one agrees with them or not. They are the ones that are the source of this cancel culture, however. This culture of intimidation surely limits what universities teach and research, and its in terrorem effect, by which I mean the thought and discussion that doesn't take place because people fear being canceled. This loss to American society and truth-seeking is incalculable. I have several examples of this, which I think in the interest of time, I won't get into in much detail, but let me just give you one of them. And this, as I say, has been repeated hundreds of times throughout the country. Students at one college, called Skidmore College, demanded the dismissal of a professor for merely attending a pro-police rally out of curiosity. A professor who supports capital punishment because it deters some crime, or who teaches that any portion of intelligence is genetically transmitted, may be hounded out of her job. And there are countless other examples. So the question arises, how can such a small number of intolerant students and occasionally faculty manage to close down so much truth-seeking intellectual activity on our campuses? Social media, of course, is a formidable weapon, a force multiplier in military terms, for those who want to silence and punish views that they oppose, often cravenly hiding their own identities while they do so. Truth-seeking is also discouraged by the politicization of ever more areas of life. Many people on campus remain silent, having succumbed to a herd mentality, to personal cowardice, or to calculated indifference. So this brings me to the final section of my brief remarks today. What can be done to strengthen the constitution of knowledge in universities? The remedy is not more legal protections. Our laws already protect truth-seeking and truth-speaking. Nor do we need more lofty speeches praising diversity. The issue is not campus leaders' ability to preach, but how they behave when they are under social pressure from the forces of conformity and political correctness. Of course, what happens on campus cannot be divorced from the larger forces that are roiling society, including political divisions and technological changes. But here, in conclusion, are a few principles that can invigorate the peaceful search for truth in a university. First, typically student protesters seek to stifle debate by claiming that their rights to equality or respect are being violated. But most of what they demand are not rights at all. They have those rights, but merely interests that are contestable. And in a liberal society, those interests can rightly be gained and converted into rights only by persuading others to agree with them. Second, these moral vigilantes, by imagining that their demands are simply matters of right and wrong that no right-thinking person could possibly contest, seek victory through coercion, not through rational persuasion. But a university teaches that a viable morality, like a fruitful science, must be based on broad acceptance of truthful facts about the world. Facts that the university is in the business of pursuing, interpreting, and establishing. Third, the search for truth in the university depends not on bullying and power, but on open inquiry by open minds in the spirit of liberty. Let me define the spirit of liberty, which is so central to our enterprise here in the United States and in India, as a great American judge has defined it. The spirit that is not too sure that it is right. The spirit that seeks to understand the mind of other men and women. This is the spirit that I hope will guide you in your studies at JGU. You have a great opportunity in your studies here. It's a great privilege to welcome you, and we will gaze on your achievements and your accomplishments as you institute this constitution of knowledge to which I have referred in the years ahead. Thank you and good luck.
Much gratitude to you, Professor Schuck, for an amazing remark. Thank you so much. At this time, with immense pleasure, I invite our next special speaker for the day, Ms. Sahana Singh. Ms. Singh is an author, editor, and columnist who writes on a variety of issues, including water management, environment, and Indian history. She holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and master's in environmental engineering from Delhi College of Engineering in India. Having worked as an engineer at HPCL refinery for some time, Ms. Singh made a career shift to writing. Her articles have been published in Reader's Digest, Washington Post, Discovery Channel Asia, Asian Water Magazine, Swarajya, India Facts, My Makers, and other publications. Her book, The Educational Heritage of Ancient India, How an Ecosystem of Learning Was Laid to Waste, has been well received by the readers. Ms. Singh has to her credit many national and international awards, such as Developing Asia Journalist Awards Tokyo. She's won Water Media Network Journalist Competition conducted by the World Bank and was awarded during the Third World Water Forum at Kyoto. Her short film, The Forgotten Cycle, won the first prize at the Guelph University of Technology's Urban Water Movie Contest in 2012. Ms. Singh is a member of the Indian History Awareness and Research, a think tank headquartered in Houston, USA. Please join me in welcoming to the virtual days Ms. Sahana Singh for this special address. Over to you, Ms. Singh.
Thank you. Namaste to everyone. It feels good to be back amidst all of you after the World University Summit in July this year. That was an excellent event. And congratulations to OP Jindal Global University for reaching the milestone of 12 years and for all the amazing achievements that you spoke about today. I did not mention this before, but my husband, Vikas Singh, and his siblings are all products of the Jindal education system. My husband studied in NC Jindal Public School in Punjabi Bagh, right from class 3 to class 12, as they called it. And later on, he went to study in IIT Kharagpur. So I've often heard him mentioning his class teacher in the Jindal Public School who lifted him up and kissed him on the cheek when he got the second rank in the fourth grade. And she told the whole school that this boy who was sick for 2 months and could not attend school had studied so hard at the end that he got the second rank. That kiss on the cheek from his teacher is a badge of honor that he carries even today. So I'm telling you this because I want to highlight how teachers impact us at so many levels. Even just one good teacher is enough to transform a student's life. And when there are enough number of good teachers, the society itself gets transformed. And when an entire ecosystem is created for the students to themselves become mentors and then teachers and researchers, it becomes a knowledge-centered society. So that brings me to the topic I've been writing about from the last 5 years, the rich, unparalleled educational heritage of India. My new book on India's educational heritage just got published, as Dr. Rajkumar just showed all of you. It's my second book. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to convey 3 important messages that I think come from my book and which I would like to be heard. So the first one is, let us be grateful inheritors of our own educational heritage. There is so much to be grateful to the gurus of ancient India, to Kanada, Sushruta, Charaka, Aryabhatta, Varahamihira, Brahmagupta, Bhaskaracharya, Panini, Patanjali, Pingala, Kautilya, and hundreds of other gurus, including women gurus. They laid the foundational imprint on almost every academic discipline that is being pursued today. I would say that the edifice of modern knowledge would not have been built without the rigorous work done by these gurus. Take just the example of medicine. India's medical texts like Sushruta Samhita and Charaka Samhita gave the knowledge of good health to the world. It was meant to be shared with everybody. For example, they talk about how water sources should not be polluted with excreta or fecal matter. The Arthashastra, again, that's another text which speaks about fines to be imposed on those who spoil water sources. This is more than 2000 years ago. In contrast, in London in the 18th century, they still did not know that the cholera epidemics were breaking out. The epidemics that were breaking out were being caused by the toilet waste that they were sending directly to the Thames River in those days. They had no idea that that polluting the water sources would lead to the same water coming back in their drinking water and causing diseases. So coming back to the education scene in ancient India, there were a staggering number of universities and learning centers spread across the length and breadth of India. It might be hard to believe for some people, but when I started plotting the most well-known centers of learning, when I started plotting them on a map of India for my book, I found 89 of them spread out all over India. Even today, archaeologists are digging up the remains of ancient universities, like the Telhara University, which has been found close to Nalanda University, and it was found to be even bigger than Nalanda University. It's even more ancient, and it probably offered more courses. And to give you another example, Ujjaini University in central India was a very important university for mathematics and astronomy. It was the place where cutting-edge mathematical research was carried out, like how to use zero in arithmetical operations, how to use the decimal system in calculations, how to measure the astronomical distances, the distance between the Earth and various planets and even stars using trigonometry. So this was the kind of path-breaking research that came out of Ujjaini University. And this university attracted the best mathematical minds like Varahamihira, Brahmagupta, and Bhaskaracharya. It had a well-known observatory. And in those days, the zero meridian, the 0-degree meridian, passed through Ujjaini. And Bhaskaracharya, a professor there, was the first mathematician to write a work with full and systematic use of the decimal system. He also was a brilliant poet. Today we talk of interdisciplinarity. He was a mathematician, but also a brilliant poet, and he wrote problems in the form of poetry. He was to challenge his students to solve those problems, which he would write in poetic form. His books were also written that way. So imagine today a scholar writing a work of mathematics in the form of poetry. That was the genius of Bhaskara. All this was centuries before Newton or Leibniz. And just like Ujjaini, Ujjaini was a center of mathematics, there was also Thrissur in Kerala, in southern India. And for some reason, in that time, around the 13th and 14th century, some of the biggest mathematical geniuses sprouted in Thrissur. So for one example is Madhava from Sangamagrama. He developed the foundations of calculus, differential calculus. Along with his students, Madhava worked on the infinite series for the trigonometric functions of sine, cosine, tangent, and arctangent. Even the terms like sine and cosine have come from India. There is evidence that the Jesuit missionaries who visited Kerala in the 15th century, they took the knowledge of calculus from Kerala to Europe. That has been well documented. Even before them, there were many others. So basically, there was a knowledge revolution that spread from India. Or you could call it a translation revolution, because the original manuscripts were all written in Sanskrit and various other Indian languages. And these manuscripts covered a variety of subjects: grammar, sciences, medicine, mathematics, language, art, music, philosophy, and what have you. And so the translators had to translate them into Chinese, Persian, Arabic, and later on to Latin. So translators played a huge role in transferring India's knowledge to the rest of the world. That's how Indian knowledge was transmitted in all directions. What I would like you to know is that the Indian educational institutes, their scholars and manuscripts were as much in demand globally as the gold, silver, textiles, and other products that India was exporting in those days. So we must acknowledge the contributions of our ancestors. This is my first message. And my second main message for today is, let us do what we can to revive the best aspects of our ancient educational system. We obviously cannot revive everything, and maybe we don't need to, but let's look at what are the outstanding aspects of that time, which we can bring back today. One of the things that I would like to see revived is the culture of logical reasoning and debating. This has something, this is probably in line with what Dr. Peter Schuck just mentioned. So Tarka Vidya, and Vada Vidya, these were two very important disciplines in ancient India. This was related to debate and speech. There was a whole technical terminology around debate. So they had terms like sadhya, which is the thesis to be established, siddhanta, proposition, tenet, or conclusion, hetu, which means reason. And then there was udaharana, example, sadharmya, which is affirmative example, vaidharmya, negative example, pratyaksha, which was perception, anumana, inference, pramana, proof, different kinds of pramanas. In fact, in later years, a new language was developed for logical deductions and debating, and that language was called Navya Nyaya. So it was a language exclusively for debating that scholars used. That language was technical and left no room for misinterpretation. It started in Bengal and became very popular. In fact, debating was like a spectator sport, and people gathered to watch in India. They loved to see intellectual, something like intellectual wrestling. And the kings of the time, they loved to organize intellectual tournaments, and the winners would be handsomely rewarded. There are accounts of the winners of debates being taken around the city in a chariot so that the people could see and cheer for them. When the Chinese student Xuanzang came to India to study in Nalanda, he said he found the standards of debating far higher in India than what he had seen in China. And of course, he himself became a very good debater. Today, we do have debates. We see them on TV, in the studios, we see them in parliament and the other assemblies. Schools and colleges also organize tournaments. But honestly, these are, I would call them kid stuff compared to what was there in ancient India. I think it is very important that the new curriculum in India should include a flavor of the Tarka and the Vada Vidya of ancient times. It can be done in a way that is fun and enjoyable. And actually, it can help to cancel the cancel culture that was just mentioned by the previous speaker. So it will really make us think in a more structured and logical manner if you are exposed to the sciences of logic from ancient India. I am myself taking Nyaya classes, and I really find that it makes me think more deeply about the root cause of various things and eliminate the subsidiary causes. So this kind of thinking is very helpful in today's world when we are being bombarded in all directions with fake news and agenda-driven media. So I would like to make a call for the return of the ancient logical sciences, a flavor of it, the Indian Tarka and Vada Vidya. Other things that we should try and revive is the knowledge of Ganita Jyotisha or astronomy. So for example, when we learn basic astronomy in school as a part of geography or some other subject, we learn about 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute and such things, but we don't know where these numbers came from. So there are these gaps in our knowledge. What I would like to say is that if we learn Ganita Jyotisha or Surya Siddhanta, just the essence of these texts, so many dots will get connected. So one thing we must understand is that in ancient times, astronomy was considered a discipline of the Hindus or the Indians. The Arabs called it Hindisa, the subject of astronomy, and mathematics also. So they regarded it as a subject of the Hindus. That's the way it was viewed. Of course, that doesn't mean only the Hindus were being allowed to study astronomy, but they were very good in teaching it. The best Hindu astronomers and mathematicians were in great demand. So I think it's a shame today that we are so unfamiliar with astronomy that even a university student cannot make out by looking at the moon and the sun what day of the month it is. We have to depend on technology for these things. And it shows a huge degradation in our understanding of the universe and it actually impacts many other things about the way we think. We also need to learn memory training techniques from ancient Indian curriculum. Today we don't value memory so much because we think we can Google it up, we can save information on our hard disks or in the cloud. So we have actually outsourced our memory, and that's a very dangerous thing. Today we believe that we need to free up our brain for analytical work, and so we do not need to memorize anything. I think we need to reconsider that. Outsourcing our memory to the point that we cannot even remember our own mobile phone number or the ones close to us, I think that's a bad idea. There is a tremendous value to developing our memory, and I think we need to learn this technique from ancient India. So please do give some thought on how to revive the best aspects of our ancient Indian educational system. And now I come to the third message. So my third message is, let us decolonize ourselves and use our unique Indic lenses. So there is a new scholarship that is emerging today that the ex-colonies, which were once victims of European colonization, they must understand the decoloniality discourse. We all tend to think that we got our freedom from the colonizers in India, for example, in 1947, so the problem is solved and we are decolonized. But the truth is that getting back control of our land or territory is just the first step. We must think about the mind, the ways in which mental colonization has happened, and in many ways it has paralyzed us. Decoloniality challenges European universalism. It rejects the notion that we must look at the world from the European perspective. So decoloniality studies are becoming important in many universities in the US. It started from Latin America. So you will find many studies related to decoloniality in the Spanish and the Latin American context. African studies have also been done, but for some reason, India has not done much in decoloniality studies. I think it ought to have taken the lead, especially because Indians as knowledge producers have greatly suffered from the Eurocentric approach that was taken by historians, sociologists, anthropologists, and so many others. In fact, there is a famous statement by Dr. S.N. Balagangadhara, in which he says, we know the West as the West looks at itself. We study the East the way the West studies the East. We do not even know if the world would look different if we looked at it our way. So that is the thing we need to change. My journey towards decoloniality started after I came to the US. So when I looked at my daughter's world history textbook, I was quite shocked to see the manner in which India was represented. There was absolutely no mention of all the things that India has given to the world, like mathematics, Ayurveda, yoga, Nyaya, Sankhya, Vyakarna. And the only thing they had to say about India was sati, caste system, low status of women in society, these kind of things. So that is how I began to write about Indian history and culture, even though I'm an engineer. And my intention was to present the Indic perspective, the lost narratives of India, which people are not talking about. I began to learn Sanskrit. I began to learn from traditional scholars. I traveled extensively within India and paid attention to traditions and customs. So slowly, as I peeled the layers, the real narratives of India began to reveal themselves to me. It was exhilarating. So the journey towards decoloniality can be very rewarding. So each time I understand the true meaning of an Indian tradition or motive, it makes me connect to something deeper within me. It provides a holistic insight, a new insight and knowledge. And I think that what comes out after getting that kind of connection is something very different. So today, in a world where everyone is wearing jeans, drinking Coke, eating pizza, watching Hollywood movies, taking selfies, I think we are becoming clones of each other. And that's why going back to our true selves makes us unique and diverse. So I would like to invite the students listening to me today to embark on their own journey of decoloniality, because the world needs it. It's not just for India, the world needs it. It is good for humankind that more people connect to India's educational heritage, because the insights that they get will be beneficial to the world. So with this, I come to the end of my talk. Congratulations once again to OP Jindal Global University. May you go on to celebrate your 25th, 50th, 100th, and many more anniversaries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Singh, for your inspiring address. For bringing out the flamboyance and richness of the educational heritage of ancient India. It indeed has a lot to offer and influence the contemporary pedagogical practices for better. Thank you so much. Moving right along, it's my proud privilege to welcome and introduce our next and most distinguished guest speaker, Honorable Mr. Justice P.S. Narasimha. Justice Narasimha was appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court of India in August 2021. He graduated with triple majors in economics, political science, and public administration from Nizam College, Hyderabad, and pursued law from the Campus Law Center, Delhi University in 1988. And then he enrolled at the Bar Council of Andhra Pradesh. Initially practiced in AP High Court, Hyderabad, and shifted counsel practice to Supreme Court in 1989. Justice Narasimha appeared in many cases in the Supreme Court and worked as the Commission Counsel for the Justice Chinnappa Reddy Commission. Justice Narasimha was designated as a senior advocate by the full court of the Supreme Court of India in the year 2008. He appeared in many public law cases involving constitutional, administrative, and environmental issues. Appointed as amicus curiae by the Supreme Court in many cases, such as the Forest Bench, judicial appointments where he assisted the court. Justice Narasimha was appointed as the Additional Solicitor General of India in 2014, during which he represented the Union in a number of landmark cases, including the NJAC case before the Constitution Bench. He was part of the Indian Supreme Court delegation to the Canadian Supreme Court, where he presented a paper on extradition and had the rare opportunity to represent the Indian Republic before the International Tribunal for Law of the Sea at Hamburg, Germany. Justice Narasimha also defended India before the Permanent Court of Arbitration in ICJ, Hague. Justice Narasimha was part of the governing body of the National Legal Services Authority of India and Mediation and Project Conciliation Committee of the Supreme Court of India. He was part of the high-powered committee constituted for suggesting sweeping changes to the Arbitration Act and to suggest mechanisms for institutional arbitration. He was a member of the committee relating to restructuring of appellate tribunals and the Committee on Corporate Social Responsibility. Justice Narasimha has been a member of Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority and had been on the executive council of many national law universities and other educational institutions. He was elevated as a judge of the Supreme Court of India directly from the bar on 31st August 2021. Hearty welcome, sir. May I now request you to kindly deliver your presidential address, please.
Thank you very much, Tanushree. That was a long introduction. And many of the things that you have mentioned, I in fact forgotten long back. Thank you very much. Professor Raj Kumar, founding Vice Chancellor of Jindal Global University. Professor Peter Schuck, Simon Baldwin Professor Emeritus. Sahana Singh, author, columnist. Professor and my good friend Sridhar Patnaik, Registrar OP Jindal Global University, esteemed guests, parents, guardians, students, faculty and staff members, ladies and gentlemen. I feel honored for being here and attending this August gathering. It gives me immense pleasure and a great deal of satisfaction joining you all at this auspicious occasion of the 12th anniversary of the establishment of the OP Jindal Global University. I must congratulate Vice Chancellor Professor Rajkumar for having overseen the establishment of the institution like this one. I also congratulate on this occasion the entire Jindal Global University fraternity for its accomplishment over the years. And I must also commend the Chancellor. I should take this opportunity to commend Naveen Jindal for establishing this university in the memory of his father and supporting the university and its growth all these years. His philanthropy has helped elevate the higher education landscape in India. We are indeed facing transformative times which are pushing us to new imaginations of our world and our own selves. This is where the function of the university assumes critical importance, for it remains the repository of knowledge past, present, and future. A couple of ideas I just wanted to share with you. So far as the establishment of the university is concerned, after hearing to Sahana Singh, I thought of sharing with you my ideas, my experiences, rather than reading the written notes that I think that way to be. I practiced for about 32 years, and it is true that most of our knowledge systems were those which were developed and handed over to us after the independence. We made our constitution, and through the universities we learn various other disciplines, particularly this aspect relating to freedoms, rights, duties, and obligations, separation of state, the rule of law. These are the aspects which we have learned in law, which informed our constitution and informed our studies in the law schools also. Now, one aspect of the matter relating to the methodologies of knowing the truth, which is the most difficult part of it. The most difficult part of it is decipherment of truth. And the entire law is about that itself. How do we know truth? And we have this document called the Indian Evidence Act. It's a statute by virtue of which we study the methodology of knowing and understanding law. And we experimented some years back as to how the other systems that we have all over the world, which have traditional methodologies of knowing the truth, in comparison to what has been established under the Indian Evidence Act. And we trace that to even African systems. And so far as India is concerned, as Sahana was saying, that we have this method by which the Nyaya Shastra, as it is called, indicates to us the method by which we would get to know the truth, and very systematically formulated and developed. So universities now will have to definitely consider these aspects of the matter. And then there must be a convergence of knowledge systems, past and present. So much so the ways in which we think, the methods that we would adopt, the strategies that we would formulate for knowing the truth will be composite, and it will be informed so much by the plurality of knowledge. This is where the Jindal University will make a world of difference. And I must congratulate the university. I would congratulate Mr. Rajkumar, being the founding Vice Chancellor of the university, for having initiated an extraordinary method by which you inculcate that spirit of inquiry among students. There's one aspect which Arvindo talked so much about. Some passages of his are very, very interesting. His view of education had two basic components: education of the within and education of the without. The humanities, arts, and sciences approach. The education from within proceeds by understanding of the natural world, social world, whereas education from within considers an observation of oneself and the cultivation of inner virtues. This balance between the two, the objective study of the outside world and the subjective study of oneself, is critical, but heavily skewed in favor of the latter because of employability concerns in the market and the standardized education system geared towards developing workers of the industry. As the nature of the knowledge economy shifts, this shift in education system is critical as the National Education Policy 2020, particularly paras 11.1 and 11.8, which I don't want to read now, recognizes a focus on holistic learning and a renewed focus on liberal arts is critical in developing strong characters independent of professions and technical knowledge. A university then is a space for self-discovery and development, and not only technical legal education or otherwise. Holistically, in this classic tradition of Gurukula and the Greek academies like Plato's shared a common concern for development of the self. Second, and relatedly, Arvindo spoke of the move away from the teaching that imparts knowledge to students to the creation of facilitative environment where students can become self-learners. This is what I have also seen from close quarters from the imparting of education in the Jindal school. This is critical for the purpose of education. It is not just to equip the student with information and practical skills, important as they are, but the capacity to be independent learners. A good university education should deal not just with subject matter knowledge, but develop emotional and intellectual faculties to allow for lifelong learning, such that we can cope with changing circumstances. This is all the more true today as many industry leaders testify today, given the changing technologies and social landscape. This is the key concern even so far as employability goes. Through education, Arvindo said, is from within where the student's curiosity and capacity to learn are engaged through the development of instructions of knowledge so that they can continue their education after university rather than a provision of knowledge from without, which will limit their learning once they graduate. This acquiring of various kinds of information is only one and not the chief of the means and necessities of education. This is a small aspect which I have seen about Arvindo, who wrote extensively about the kind of universities that India has established. So, in conclusion, I would want to say that the university's contribution are not merely regulatory to encompass the order function of law, what I have mentioned moments some time back. It instead goes over and above that incorporates ideas of freedom, diversity, dignity, autonomy, and community life. It is also a place where the future generation find their nourishment. The present generation, its vocation and engagement, and the present generations are validity and value. For a lawyer-turned judge like me, the very function of a university is therefore expansive, perhaps broader than that of the institutions of the state after all. University is the life's reflection of itself in its youth. Having been part of the governing body of some law universities and member of the NALSA, that is the National Legal Services Authority, I believe the university plays a very important function in the lives of country's citizens. The very function of a university is public. The establishment might have arisen out of the efforts of individual citizens and not the state organ to begin with in some cases. In the end, what we pursue is nothing else but the knowledge of the world. My best wishes are with OP Jindal Global University. I am certain that JGU will continue its good work as a research-incentive institution which can contribute in addressing broader national and global issues of concern while contemporizing its teaching, learning methodologies, providing meaningful research opportunities for faculty and students, creating opportunities for community engagement and social impact, and all these creating a world-class institution in India and preparing students for a better future with its well-rounded liberal higher education. I once again thank Vice Chancellor Raj Kumar, Registrar Sridhar Patnaik and other university functionaries, and the esteemed members of the audience for having me address this august gathering today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing with us the wealth of valuable insights. We are indeed grateful to you for taking time off your busy schedule to grace this occasion. Much gratitude to you, sir. We have now reached the much-awaited juncture of the University Day that recognizes the spirit of going above and beyond the call of duty, of making a positive contribution and difference and achieving remarkable feats. To let the feelings of accomplishment, pride, and joy permeate this virtual setup, I would now like to call upon my esteemed colleagues, Professor Mercy Deborah, Additional Registrar, and Ms. Surinder Kaur, Senior Additional Registrar, OP Jindal Global University, to kindly take the proceedings towards the announcement of awards to the JGU staff, students, and faculty members.
Very good evening to all of you. We have now reached the much awaited segment of the University Day, which is the announcement of awards to our faculty, staff, and students. These awards are given each year on the University Day to celebrate the achievements and, more importantly, to acknowledge the outstanding contributions of members of the JGU community in various facets of the university life. So to begin with, we will be presenting the list of awardees from among our staff who have been recognized for their valuable contributions made to the university in their respective administrative roles in what has been rather a very challenging year. And this will be followed by a presentation of awards for excellence in research given to our faculty members from various JGU schools. So our heartiest congratulations to all the awardees. We now present to you the list of awardees from amongst our staff and faculty members for the academic year 2020-2021.
Good evening, everyone. Heartiest congratulations to all of you on the 12th anniversary of OP Jindal Global University. It is an honor and privilege for me to announce the most awaited category of awards for the evening. We will now have school-wide and university-wide awards that recognize our students' outstanding contribution and achievements in academics, co-curricular and extracurricular activities. I would like to congratulate all the awardees for their incredible efforts despite all the odds posed by the pandemic. May I now request our IT team to introduce the recipients of these awards.
hearty congratulations to all the medal-winning faculty, staff members, students, and their proud parents. Thank you very much, Professor Mercy Deborah and Ms. Surinder Kaur, for doing the honors and infusing a good cheer into this event. Moving on, I would now request the Registrar of OP Jindal Global University, Professor Sridhar Patnaik, to kindly deliver the concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, Professor Tanushree Sharma. It's indeed a delightful evening. I take this opportunity on this auspicious occasion. We are commemorating and celebrating the University Day and the 12th anniversary of the university. I take this opportunity to congratulate all the members of the university community and also the award winners whose work and contributions we have celebrated. Before moving any further, I also take this moment to thank our distinguished guests and speakers this evening, Professor Peter Schuck, Simeon Baldwin Professor, Yale University, Ms. Sahana Singh, author and columnist, and Honorable Mr. Justice P.S. Narasimha, the Judge, Supreme Court of India, for their truly a masterclass kind of a lecture this evening. I say that it's a masterclass because the varied areas they have covered this evening, they have provided an idea for a modern university and its governance, its teaching and pedagogy with an embedded philosophy of higher education, taking into consideration the history and the context and the plurality thereof. We are delighted to hear their inspirational, thoughtful, and enriching remarks, and we cannot thank them enough for accepting our invite to address the entire JGU community on this auspicious occasion. We are what we are thanks to the benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, for his dynamic and visionary leadership as the Chancellor of the university that has today acquired a well-deserving reputation globally. The OP Jindal Global University, it stands as a testament to values espoused by Shri OP Jindal, who always believed that education, access, and opportunities could change the world, and that students go on to become change makers, a cause that is always championed by the Honorable Chancellor. We are grateful to our benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, for establishing the OP Jindal Global University and for his unflinching support and continuous guidance over the years. And here we are this evening celebrating the 12th anniversary of the university. In a short span of time, the university has achieved many milestones, and with many more to come, from being recognized as an institution of eminence by the Government of India to being ranked among the top 500 universities in the world in the recent QS Graduate Employability Rankings 2022. We are on the way to become truly a world-class university in India. But however, it's worthy to mention the success of this nature and the scale did not happen overnight. The wheels started rolling years in advance, and it required diligent efforts from every individual who has been and who is part of the OP Jindal Global University fraternity. We are thankful to all the members of the JGU community, and in particular to the members of the government, the governing and the academic council for their continued support, guidance, and mentorship over the years. I also take this moment to gratefully acknowledge the contributions of all our stakeholders, in particular parents, guardians of our students, alumni, and the government of Haryana, the local and state administration, as well as in particular the Department of Higher Education, various ministries of the Government of India, and especially the Ministry of Education, Niti Aayog, University Grants Commission, the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, the Bar Council of India, the Council of Architecture, Rehabilitation Council of India, and many other government agencies and regulatory bodies, and our national and international academic partners for their trust and support over the years. On behalf of my own self and the entire JGU community, we also express our deep sense of gratitude to our Vice Chancellor, Professor C. Rajkumar, for his able leadership and a singular commitment to the idea and functioning of the OP Jindal Global University and in steering the university's efforts towards achieving academic excellence, which today stands as the best private university in India. Our sincere thanks to deans of all the schools and heads of various administrative departments and the members of all the departments in the university, and also the Chief Operating Officer and Senior Director, Human Resources, and members of their offices, and the CFO and the Senior Director of Finance and Accounts and their entire team, and the Director and team members of the Office of Communications and Public Affairs, the Director and team members of the Office of Information Technology, the Head of Infrastructure and Projects Management, the Executive Officers of all the schools, and the Office of Events for their contributions to the university over the years, and for being by us and supporting us at all times, and in particular for making this program a success this evening. I would also like to thank colleagues from the Office of the Vice Chancellor and the Registrar who work tirelessly for their continuing support, cooperation, and encouragement in ensuring this very successful program. I might have missed a few other individuals who have supported us in this endeavor, but in all earnest, I wish to be forgiven for not specifically expressing our gratitude, but we wholeheartedly acknowledge the efforts of everyone. Let us share our hopes for a post-pandemic and a lockdown-free future that will enable us to have our successive University Day ceremonies in a physical setting, commemorating the success and contributions of our staff members, our faculty members, and students. Congratulations and best wishes to everyone, and thank you very much.